Kim Taehyung's sudden return to Korea has created a major shock that cannot be ignored. Not just routine news from the entertainment world, but an event that raises a fundamental question. Why would a world-class artist, who had just performed full of energy in front of thousands of spectators, return home so quickly with a face full of exhaustion? Even more surprising, it was not only Taehyung's departure that became the spotlight, but Jungkook's emotional reaction that instead made the situation worse. A big question now arises: is this just a coincidence, or is there a hidden dynamic deliberately kept secret? This issue became more complex when Bang Si Hyuk's name began to be mentioned in public discussion. A figure who has long been known as the main driver of the direction of the K-pop industry is now once again at the forefront of controversy. Many believe that the involvement of his name is not without reason. Does he really know the reason behind Taehyung's sudden return? Or is there actually an important decision made beyond the artist's control? Meanwhile, ARMY around the world continues to highlight one thing: Jungkook's expression that can no longer be hidden. In public recordings widely spread, Jungkook appeared unable to maintain his usual composure. His gaze changed, his facial expression full of pressure, and his body language seemed to convey more than words. ARMY immediately interpreted this as a signal that Jungkook knew something that had not been revealed to the public. Speculation grew. Was Jungkook trying to hold back emotions related to Taehyung's condition, or was he fighting pressures he could not express directly? Such questions further strengthened public suspicion that Taehyung's return does not stand alone. Some fans connected it with previous signs: the reduced intensity of interaction between Jungkook and Taehyung, changes in attitude during interviews, to moments of togetherness that were increasingly rare to see. All those small fragments are now tied together into a big narrative that makes public opinion increasingly divided. Bang Si Hyuk inevitably became the center of attention. A figure with a global reputation is considered to have an important role in every step of the artists under his shelter. But this time his position is full of questions. Is he merely an observer of this sudden situation, or is he one of the figures who determine the direction of the decision? The absence of clear answers only makes speculation even wilder. Jungkook's reaction further strengthens the tension. If he is usually known for extraordinary emotional control, this time his gestures show the opposite. ARMY captured that expression as a sign of shock, even perhaps dissatisfaction. Many believe, behind Jungkook's silence, there is a form of resistance that cannot be expressed openly. If so, then this situation is far more serious than it appears on the surface. This phenomenon ultimately creates a major paradox. On one hand, Taehyung is known as a strong, calm, and professional figure. Yet, his return with a tired face gives the impression that there is pressure he can no longer hide. On the other hand, Jungkook, who usually maintains dignity, instead shows undeniable emotional reactions. Their tension highlights a reality that cannot be ignored. Something is wrong, and the public feels entitled to know it. Amid this storm of issues, ARMY is increasingly demanding an explanation. But the longer the answer does not come, the greater the growing suspicion. Many begin to question how far internal company policies affect the personal lives of artists. Is Taehyung's return really only about personal condition, or is there actually a big strategy being played? What about Jungkook's position, which clearly looks disagreeing with something he did not say? Discussions on social media are spreading wider. Some say this is only a technical issue being exaggerated, but many are not satisfied with such a simple explanation. They believe there is a more serious reason, deliberately kept tightly closed to avoid tainting the image. In fact, Jungkook's pressured attitude is considered the most real evidence that this situation is not as simple as imagined. Now, three key figures become the center of attention: Taehyung with his sudden return, Jungkook with his shocking reaction, and Bang Si Hyuk at the core of the issue. These three elements are interconnected, forming a puzzle that until now has not been solved. Is the public witnessing the early symptoms of a major conflict that has long been hidden? Or is all of this just a coincidence too perfect to ignore? ARMY keeps wondering, and the longer the answer does not appear, the higher the tension felt. Jungkook has already given signals with his reaction. Taehyung is shown a tired face that is hard to deny, and Bang Si Hyuk is in the middle of a whirlpool of speculation increasingly difficult to stop. One question now echoes across the world. What is really happening, and why do all parties seem to choose silence while the public demands the truth? Taehyung's sudden return not only changed the rhythm of BTS's activities, but also shook the dynamics of public perception of the stability that had long been tightly guarded. This incident opens space for interpretation that there are unseen layers in artist management deliberately never revealed. The fact that a world-class star can suddenly return with a face full of exhaustion makes the public assess that there is major intervention that cannot be separated from influential parties. Bang Si Hyuk, the figure whose name emerged amid this issue, is no ordinary figure. He is seen as an individual with full power in setting policy direction. His presence in public discussion automatically strengthens the assumption that Taehyung's return is not entirely a personal decision. But what draws even more attention is why Jungkook reacted the strongest. His facial expression, his gaze that seemed hard to control, to small gestures caught on camera, became a symbol that he refused to hide his anxiety. This moment shows a paradox hard to deny. On one side, the public sees how Taehyung returned with physical and mental condition appearing weakened. On the other, Jungkook instead shows feelings seemingly no longer able to be held, like a silent warning that there is a big truth being tightly closed. ARMY does not need long explanations. Jungkook's body language is enough to indicate that Taehyung's return is not a simple matter. Speculation then spreads to various possibilities. Some say this is a form of internal pressure that has become too heavy. Some believe there is a policy conflict that can no longer be hidden. Even some see Jungkook's reaction as a reflection of his failure to accept the reality that his friend and stage partner was forced to return. Yet, behind all these theories, one sharper question arises. How far is Bang Si Hyuk's role in this dynamic? The public demands answers, but those answers never come. Instead, the silence of all parties makes this issue grow even bigger. Every second of delayed information only strengthens the perception that something is being protected. Taehyung remains the center of attention for his tired face. Jungkook becomes the symbol of unspoken protest, and Bang Si Hyuk is increasingly spotlighted because his position is seen as inseparable from the direction of major decisions. Now, the world waits with tension never seen before. Will the public soon know the real reason behind Taehyung's return? Or will this event remain a long puzzle leaving only traces in the form of Taehyung's tired expression and Jungkook's emotional reaction? One thing is certain. This issue has created a new wave of belief that there are many things deliberately not shown to the surface. Kim Taehyung's sudden return to Korea remains a big question haunting the global public to this day. No clarity has been able to ease the anxiety, and every delay of information only deepens suspicion that something is deliberately being covered. Jungkook's tension-filled reaction further strengthens the narrative that this event cannot be seen as ordinary. Yet, a fundamental question arises. Is all that we are witnessing truly the reality that occurred, or just a narrative construction deliberately built to drive public opinion? We must ask critically, does Taehyung's tired face really reflect the internal burden he is carrying, or was that expression just a fleeting moment deliberately exaggerated by social media? Is Jungkook's emotional reaction a real form of rejection toward an unfair decision, or is it part of a strategy to reignite global attention to a group at a career crossroads? These questions cannot be ignored, because the public often gets trapped by what appears on the surface without digging into the possibility of fabrication behind it. The name Bang Si Hyuk being dragged back into this issue adds another layer of complexity. Does he truly have full control over that sudden return decision? Or is the public only linking his name because his position is too influential to avoid? What if his involvement is just a created perception, directing the public to find the right scapegoat? Why, in every major controversy, do central figures like him always become the first target, even though concrete evidence is never really presented? Amid those questions, we must also assess, is this news just a sensational construction reinforced by social media like TikTok, Twitter, or YouTube, which indeed tend to exaggerate issues to attract attention? Is there really strong evidence that Taehyung's return was caused by external factors full of intrigue? Or is all of this just a series of baseless speculations then polished to appear reasonable? If so, then we are facing a form of collective hoax that successfully manipulates the perception of millions. However, if we accept this event as something real, deeper questions must be asked. Why was Jungkook's reaction so striking while other members chose silence? Does that indicate internal division deliberately hidden? Or did Jungkook unconsciously display his personal emotions without realizing the global consequences? How could an artist long accustomed to the pressures of the international stage lose emotional control in front of the public, unless there was a burden much heavier than just a sudden return? This situation forces us to reflect again on how information works in the digital era. We're used to seeing video clips, photos, or viral tweets, then building a big narrative from those small fragments. But does that narrative really reflect facts? Or are we all being led to believe something arranged neatly to appear dramatic? Is it not true that social media often creates a pseudo-reality that eventually is more believed by the public than the actual truth? We also need to question ARMY's role in amplifying this issue. Does their anxiety arise from real facts, or purely from emotions formed by personal attachment to their idols? Are ARMY really defending hidden truths, or unconsciously strengthening a narrative not necessarily true? Isn't a critical attitude demanding us not to believe immediately, even in things that seem so convincing? If we see this event as part of a media strategy, another question arises. Who benefits from all this controversy? The company that again gains global spotlight, the artists whose names return to center of discussion, or social media platforms that gain explosions of interaction from millions of users? What if the sudden return, the tired expression, and the emotional reaction are only pieces of a scenario played to create drama guaranteeing long-term public engagement? If so, then we are witnessing one of the biggest emotional manipulations in the history of modern entertainment. But on the other hand, refusing to believe entirely is not an easy choice either. What if all these signs are truly authentic? What if Taehyung is indeed under heavy pressure, and Jungkook can no longer hide his emotions? What if Bang Si Hyuk is indeed the key figure behind this sudden decision? By refusing to believe, are we not closing our eyes to a bitter reality that actually should be revealed? Here lies the public's dilemma, between believing what is seen, or doubting everything as part of manipulation, between accepting the sudden return as a sad reality, or suspecting it as a calculated planned drama. Can we remain neutral amid a flood of information full of hidden interests? Can we distinguish between fact, opinion, and fabrication, or do we instead prefer to believe in the narrative that suits our emotions? What is clear is that the information circulating now mostly comes from social media whose credibility can still be questioned. Short videos, photo fragments, emotional tweets, to speculative analysis from content creators all shape waves of opinion that seem undeniable. Yet, the real truth remains blurry and may never truly be revealed. Therefore, we as the public are required to be skeptical, critical, and reflective. Are we really searching for truth, or are we only enjoying drama created for mass consumption? Taehyung's return, Jungkook's reaction, and Bang Si Hyuk's involvement have now formed a major puzzle hanging before the world. Is this a real story about pressure and internal conflict, or just a media game deliberately built to maintain public spotlight? Are we witnessing the real facts, or are we trapped in a hoax designed very neatly? Thus, the last question every reader must reflect on is, where do we stand? Are we part of those who believe fully without doubt? Or are we part of those who choose to be skeptical and continue questioning truth? In the end, only with a reflective and critical attitude can we avoid the trap of sensationalism deliberately created to control perception.